What's up YouTube? Back again with another video. I posted last week and I'm posting again this week. What is this? Am I becoming a YouTuber now? Anyway, doing another Q&A today. So last week I did a Q&A here on YouTube and some of you said that you really liked it. So yesterday on my IG story, I put up another question box for you guys to input some questions that you have for me. And I got 5 really good ones that we're gonna cover today. Let's just get right on into it. The first question here is how to lose weight without tracking calories. And I really like this question because I know a lot of trainers like myself talk about counting calories on social media, but sometimes we don't give strategies for people who maybe struggle with tracking calories, maybe people who get a lot of anxiety around tracking individual numbers. So I'll give you the exact strategy that I implement with a lot of my new online coaching clients who have a history of tracking, but maybe it's caused a lot of anxiety for them. What I really like doing is having these clients just write down everything they eat. So we're not talking about tracking any numbers. All we're doing is we're just tracking what we're eating after all of our meals. Literally just write it down on a pen and paper. Very simple. And you gotta write down everything you put in your mouth.
What did he say?
Okay, everything you put in your mouth, because why is this so important is we gotta pay attention to the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's not enough to just, when you have a salad, track the salad, or when you have, chicken and veggies, track the chicken and veggies. It needs to be everything. So if you have that full sleeve of Oreos one night, write down that you had the sleeve of Oreos. If you have that handful of pretzels every day at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, write it down. The first benefit of this is it forces you to be objective about the decisions you're making around nutrition, because a lot of us make decisions very subconsciously. We don't even realize that we're having those snacks or that we're eating that food. We just do it, especially if it's become habitual for us. Like if you've been eating the same thing every single day for weeks or months or years, you may not even realize that you're doing it. It's just become habit. So the first benefit is it just makes you aware that you're making these decisions. The second benefit is now that we're aware of it, all of a sudden we can start modifying our diet, either by taking certain things out or maybe eating less of certain things to help us hit our calories, right? Like maybe you're someone that you're struggling right now to lose weight and you start writing down everything you eat and you quickly realize, oh shit, I have a handful of pretzels or 2 handfuls or 3 handfuls of pretzels every day in the afternoon. Maybe that's why I'm struggling to lose weight, because that's adding a lot of calories to my overall daily diet and it's making it harder to lose weight. Or maybe you realize that you have cookies and chips every night and that's adding 700 calories that you don't really need, and you'd rather allocate those calories towards a meal that's gonna satisfy you a little bit more rather than snacking all day long. So it forces you to be much more objective about the decisions that you're making around nutrition. So I highly encourage you to just start writing down everything that you eat. And do that for a few weeks and start paying attention to these trends. Start paying attention to what decisions am I constantly making and how is that impacting the number on the scale. If you realize the number on the scale is not coming down, where can I now make modifications to my diet to help reduce my overall calories without having to count calories? This is a really good strategy that I highly recommend you start implementing. And by the way, before I move on, as a quick side note on this, if you just heard me say that and you're saying to yourself, man, I don't want to do that, I'd be very honest with yourself about how serious you really are about weight loss, how much you really want to lose weight, because that is literally the bare minimum. Tracking calories works really well for a lot of people, but what I just suggested is an easier version of that. And if you are like, I don't want to write down everything I'm eating, I'd be very honest with yourself about, am I serious about losing weight? Because it's not time consuming at all. It's very quick. You can literally get that done in 5 seconds after every single meal. So that is like the bare minimum, like entry level way to start tracking your nutrition. And again, if you implement that strategy, make sure you are writing down everything you put in your mouth.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Okay, don't just track the stuff that you know is really good for you. Make sure you track everything so you can start being objective about your nutrition. All right, second question here. Do you recommend taking creatine? If you follow me on Instagram, you might notice I don't talk a ton about supplements. Why is that? Why does Dylan not talk about supplements that much? Well, first of all, I'm not currently affiliated with any supplement company. A lot of people talk about supplements because they're pushing a code. Keep that in mind. Here's why I don't talk a lot about supplements, and I'll answer the question in a second, but I just want to give a little context. Supplements play such a small role in your overall progress, maybe 1% at most. So do I recommend creatine? Yeah, creatine is actually one of the best supplements you can buy if you're gonna buy a supplement. With that being said, you don't need to buy supplements. And I actually think creatine has actually become overrated in the fitness space because everybody and their mother is talking about it all the time, and a lot of coaches make content making it seem like if you take creatine, it's gonna solve all your problems. You're gonna build a ton of muscle, you're gonna lose a ton of fat, your performance in the gym is gonna skyrocket. And there are benefits of creatine that are pretty noticeable. I mean, from a strength standpoint, from an athletic performance standpoint, basically without getting into too much of the science behind it, there's something in your muscles called ATP, and ATP is basically the primary energy source that your muscles are using when you're working out. Creatine helps sort of regenerate that ATP during a set, which can help you get 1 to 2 more reps, maybe a few more than that, with the same weight on a set that you're doing. So maybe you can squeeze out a couple more reps. But is you getting a couple more reps gonna make or break you building muscle or you gaining strength? Nah, not really. It's not making a huge difference in your overall progress. So it's by no means necessary, and I think there's a lot of coaches that kind of talk about these supplements like if you're not taking them, you're missing out on something. You're really not. There are some additional potential benefits of creatine for memory, especially as you get older. There's actually some new research coming out about that. It's an emerging discussion around the neurological benefits. So we'll see over the coming years if that's something that really materializes more and more. There's definitely some benefits to it. Do I recommend taking it? Yes, if you have the disposable income to buy it, but don't feel the need to buy it. Don't feel like you have to buy it to get good results. And while we're on the topic of supplements, to be honest with you, I think if you were to buy one supplement, if you're like, Dylan, what's the best supplement to buy if I can only buy one? I think a protein powder, like a good protein powder, is gonna make more of a difference in your progress than creatine. Because in my coaching experience, I know a lot of people really struggle with getting protein in, and actually we have a question on that today. So by you getting a protein powder, that's an easy 20, 25 plus grams of protein in a shake. That's gonna have a much larger impact on your result by helping you get more protein in than creatine will. So do I recommend it? Yes, if you have the money for it and if you're looking to buy supplements and if you care about that, but it's definitely not necessary. And don't let some of these fitness influencers make you believe you have to buy these supplements, because as long as your training is in check, your nutrition is in check, and your recovery is in check, that's gonna do way more for your progress than a supplement ever will. All right, next question. Do you recommend following a bodybuilding style workout program if I don't compete? I really like this question because this makes me think a lot about my own fitness journey. For those of you who don't know, I got started in fitness working out when I was in high school. I'll actually put up a picture here of myself in high school. I was really, really skinny. Now, I'm not the biggest guy in the world now, but I was even skinnier when I was in high school. I was about 30 pounds lighter. I built about 30 pounds of muscle over the course of my training career. And a large portion of that has been due to following more of a bodybuilding style approach with my workouts. Now, when I say bodybuilding, not that I'm a bodybuilder, not that I'm competing in bodybuilding, but that I do more of a muscle building, hypertrophy, bodybuilding style approach.
Wait, baby. He was white as a refrigerator, hard as nails.
And in fact, a lot of the early inspirations for me when I got into fitness were influencers, you know, Steve Cook, Christian Guzman.
These will wind you, man. These will freaking kick your ass.
Rob Lipsett.
My favorite is just a neutral grip. Some people like the rope. My head is like made of stone, so I can like attach this onto my head and I'll be fine.
Guys like that were doing this style of training. If you're somebody that's asking this question, chances are you want to build muscle, but you don't want to compete, and that's kind of how I was. There is something to be said about following a bodybuilding style program, especially early on, to really pack on the muscle, spending a year, 2 years, really focusing on muscle growth. However, and this is really, really important, bodybuilding has become really, really popular over the past couple of years. Since TikTok really became popular in 2020, I feel like there's more and more young bodybuilding creators on social media that got into the industry at a time where bodybuilding is very popular. But a lot of those people don't understand other aspects of training that are even more important than just packing on muscle. The issue with a bodybuilding style program and following exclusively a bodybuilding style program is that it leaves a lot to be desired. There are a lot of other aspects of training that are important to include in your workouts that you're never gonna see in a bodybuilding program. Focusing on core stability, doing single arm exercises, single leg exercises, training in different planes of motion. So training in the frontal plane, which is side to side, like doing something like a lateral lunge or a lateral squat. Training in the transverse plane, which is where you're twisting side to side. Doing different core stability exercises, we'll talk about that in a second, to train your core in different ways. These are things that, aesthetically speaking, are not required to build a better body. So you're not gonna see them in a hypertrophy bodybuilding style program, but they're really important to include in your training over the years. So in the short term, if you wanna follow a bodybuilding style program, but you're not competing, go ahead, build up your physique a little bit, build some muscle, get to the point that you wanna get to, but understand that there's gotta be a transition at some point where you start incorporating other stuff into your routine that's important for your health, you know, balance, coordination, moving in different planes, strengthening your core, stuff that you may not get in a bodybuilding program. Because if you neglect that stuff forever, you're gonna have some real imbalances. And there's a lot of people who probably are gonna get injured, unfortunately, by following these kinds of programs forever and ever. And there's certain good exercises you'll get in a bodybuilding program that you can keep in there forever. Seated cable rows, lat pull downs, machine chest press. These are exercises that can be in literally any program. But if you only do these kinds of exercises and you don't do anything else, you're leaving a lot to be desired in your training program. So just keep that in mind, that there's gotta be some transition at some point to incorporating more quote unquote functional movements in your routine to be as healthy as possible over the long term. Now, the next question here is a little bit similar to that, specifically when it comes to ab training. And the question is doing ab exercises worth it? And this particular person who asked this question also asked another question to give more context. And he was saying that he follows some coaches who say that you should always be training abs, and he follows other coaches that say you should never train abs. And so he's trying to get my take on what I believe. So the thing about ab training is when most people think about training their abs, all they think about is doing crunches and sit-ups to develop their six-pack. There's a few problems with that. Number one is, yes, you can build up your abs in the gym, but they're never gonna be revealed until you're at a low enough body fat percentage. There's a saying that I think really, really helps kind of encapsulate this, which is abs are built in the gym and revealed in the kitchen. I very much believe that. But when we talk about building our abs, we're talking about one dimension of core training. So to answer your question, yes, ab exercises are absolutely necessary. They're worth it, but not necessarily for the reason you might think. You might think they're worth it because you want to get a six-pack. They're worth it for the added benefits you get of developing your core and strengthening your core that can help reduce low back pain, help prevent injuries, and basically keep your core bulletproof as you get older so you're more likely to stay safe and be more functional in your day-to-day life. Like I said, a lot of people, when they think about core exercises, they just think about sit-ups and, you know, reverse crunches and kneeling cable crunches and exercises like that. And you can include some of those in your program, but there's other styles of core exercises that you need to include too. For example, exercises called anti-rotation exercises. These are exercises that are actually resisting movement. So something like a pal-off press right here, where you're literally, instead of having your abs create movement, you're having your abs resist movement because the cable's trying to pull you towards the cable stack, but you're keeping your torso facing forward and resisting that movement. That's called anti-rotation. There's also another type of ab exercise called anti-extension, which is something that you do when you're doing something like a plank, where your goal is to prevent the hyperextension of your lower back, right? You're creating tension in your core to resist that urge to hyperextend your lower back against strengthening your core. There's other exercises where you combine the two, like this side plank with a press out. This variation is a side plank, so there's an anti-extension component to it, but also by pressing the dumbbell out, you're resisting the urge to rotate, which is also an anti-rotation component. So doing different ab exercises that train these different functions of the abs is really, really important to develop a bulletproof core. So yes, training abs is definitely worth it. It's actually necessary, and I think it should be talked about a lot more in the fitness space, because even though abs are revealed in the kitchen, they need to be developed in the gym, not only for the six-pack, which is that rectus abdominis, that outer ab muscle that you notice when someone's really lean, but also the deeper core muscles like the obliques, the QL, muscles like this that really help stabilize the spine and keep you nice and safe. Yes, you should absolutely be doing core exercises. All right, fifth and final question here. I'm really struggling to increase my protein intake. Any tips? I really, really like this question because I get this a lot, not only from people on social media, but also from my own clients. This is something that a lot of people really, 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 really struggle with, because oftentimes when you're just kind of starting your fitness journey, you've never really prioritized protein that much in the past. And once people start aiming for a specific protein goal, they very quickly realize how hard it can be to get more protein in your diet. I find this especially among women. I've had plenty and plenty of female clients tell me it's hard for them to get more protein in their diet. So I'll give you one really, really big tip that you can start implementing right away that I think is gonna help you out a lot. Make sure to have protein for breakfast early in the day, every single day. One of the main reasons why a lot of people struggle to hit their protein goal is because they're waiting until later in the day to start really prioritizing protein. If you get to a position where it's 6 o'clock at night and you're having dinner and you still have 100 grams of protein to hit, chances are you're not getting to that number. But if you were to have 20 to 30 grams of protein at breakfast, another 20 to 30 grams of protein at lunch, now all of a sudden you've had, 40 to 60 grams of protein already in the day. Now if you have another 30 at dinner, now you're much closer to your protein goal because you spaced it out regularly throughout the day. You spaced it out rather than waiting towards the end of the day to try to get all your protein in. I mean, I've definitely been there where it's like 9:30 at night and you look at MyFitnessPal if you're tracking your calories and it says that you have 72 grams of protein left to hit. It's like, no way am I gonna go and eat 75 grams of protein at 10 o'clock at night. I'm just not doing it. I'm not eating chicken breast at night. So try to get more protein early on in the day. For breakfast, now you have different options here. You can have eggs, egg whites, Greek yogurt, protein shake, protein bar, cottage cheese, any combination of those. I have clients that really like mixing protein powder in with their oatmeal. You can do a combination of eggs and egg whites, maybe like 2 whole eggs, 3 egg whites. Or if you really are more on the go in the morning and you need something quick and convenient, having a protein shake. Easy 25 grams of protein. Like I mentioned earlier, protein shakes can be really, really helpful for increasing your protein intake. Maybe even having a protein bar, easy 20 grams of protein right there. So just make a very conscious effort to get more protein in early on in the day so that you're not playing catch up at night and having to go and eat, chicken breast at 10 o'clock at night. Nobody wants to go and do that. You do not want to be playing catch up with your protein intake. It makes this way harder than it needs to be. Get more protein in early on in the day. There you have it, another Q&A in the books. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, make sure to give it a like and make sure to subscribe if you are not subscribed already. I'm gonna start posting more and more on YouTube. Again, like I said, I posted last week, posting this week. I'm gonna start posting more consistently. So make sure you are subscribed and turn on those post notifications so that you see when I upload next. And I will talk to you in the next video. Have a good one.